Freshly sunburned and still a lot of bit jet lag, nothing stops the impact factor. On the show today, we've got a lot to go over. Sorry, I'm so very much not awake, but let's do this thing. The impact factor is what happens when two scientists and two best friends get together to talk about video games. My name is Alex Samocha, and I'm joined this week, as I am every week here on the Impact Factor, by the guy who neglected to wish me happy birthday in the actual time zone that I live, my co-host, Charles Fliss.
Let us just state for the record here that I wished you happy birthday well before anyone else did.
Yeah, okay, true, fair, through like a text, but I didn't see no Facebook post. I didn't see nothing else.
All right, well, I will craft a grand Facebook post for you. I will craft something beautiful. You know, maybe I was just too busy wishing happy birthday to my country.
Yeah, no. I think there's a certain birthday on the 4th that's a little more important than some barbecue holiday.
Hey, listen. You go a couple years without real barbecue, and then we'll talk about how unimportant barbecue is.
Oh yeah. No, you don't. No, I mean, we've already talked about the hamburger steaky on here. Is there no hot dog? Is there a hot dog equivalent?
I mean, you've got hot dog, if that's what you mean.
So
and
so is it like no bun, cut in half, and then like the ketchup is in the middle of the split hot dog? Is that what we're looking at here?
Oh man, it's not that bad, but I mean, it's just like they're all. God, this is terrible, but they're all really small. All the hot dogs in Japan are really small.
Why would that be terrible? I mean, it's like mini frags. They're like those appetizer ones.
I mean, you know, those mini frags, those are called wiener here.
Okay.
Which is also how some of my students pronounce winner, and I just have the hardest time keeping a straight face when the kids will raise their hand really excitedly and I'm a wiener.
Oh man, yeah. Do you have to keep a straight face though? Do you?
I try and I fail.
Okay,
that's the way it goes.
That's a big difference. Oh man, well we got a lot to go into today. It's early here, late there, as always. Thank you folks who are tuning in, listening to this, either on SoundCloud, that's soundcloud.com/The Impact Factor, or on iTunes. We appreciate it. I know we're a couple days late because of my vacation, but I'm back.
Moneybags!
No.
Moneybags!
That's what happens when you save up over the course of a year, as opposed to buying 2 hats on any given Saturday.
Hey, my very small and extremely fly hat collection would beg to differ with you.
I mean, you could pay for flyness, but I pay to fly to a tropical vacation.
Well, if you're going to drop lines like that, I'm just going to get out of here because I'm already done. I'm lost. I'm as burnt as your face.
Yeah, no, my back. Oh, man. Carrying my backpack was a pain.
It got through all that hair?
Yeah, right, haha.
Aren't you a carpet salesman?
It's freshly cleaned back there. Anyway, the impact factor is what happens when I bring my perspectives as a biomedical scientist and combine them with, and usually against, Fliss's social scientist worldview to have great discussions about video games. We've got a lot to talk about. Despite a seemingly slow news week, there's still a lot to chew on. So let's get it started right away with some news and views.
News and views.
In an academic journal, News and Views collects the best of recent events and findings. Here, Fliss and I scour through the week in video game news to find the stories with the biggest impact. A lot of juicy stuff here. Fliss, what's your pick for the story with the biggest impact?
Well, I think for me, we've got to start with Apple removing all games with the Confederate flag from iTunes, and then slowly, from the App Store, and then slowly restoring some of the ones where it was perhaps an appropriate usage. Of course, at the Impact Factor, our hearts go out to all the victims of the recent hate crimes in the American South, including the shooting and the extremely suspicious church fires that have been happening down there.
That, unfortunately, have not been talked about in any real capacity. Like, it's a shame when I've just seen a couple, like, image posts on, different websites about them and nothing else.
Yeah, and if you're looking for more information out there on this listers, a great place to check that out actually is Twitter. Look up the hashtag #WhoIsBurningBlackChurches.
Yeah.
I can't believe that I'm saying that, but totally true.
Yeah, and it's an important and sobering reminder that, I mean, this is a podcast where we like to have fun, and two scientists talking about video games, but a lot more important stuff happens in the real world. So just try to keep up with world news and have an open mind and understand what's going on in the world around you. I think that's always pretty important.
Yeah, and Alex is always reminding us at the end of every show to make an impact, and so try and make a positive one, and just be better to everybody. Yeah. And we, Lord knows, we both can work on that. So
yeah, absolutely,
we'll all try that. But back to Apple, a really, I think it's a very classic Apple thing to do, just take the Confederate flag off of everything, including Boo Flag, the game where all you do is boo the Confederate flag.
Oh man, I play. It's a web browser game as well. I don't know if it's on the App Store, but it's like games like that. But it's hilarious. There's a Confederate flag and you insult it. It's great.
Yeah, and that's great. Yeah, but also on a more serious note, right? They're removing games about the American Civil War, most notably a Gettysburg game, obviously one of the most pivotal battles of the war. So. This, I think, brings up a larger issue that we're trying to tackle in the United States right now with how we talk about the flag, and I am 100% for removing it from public buildings. I think that even if you don't want to acknowledge that it is a symbol of white supremacy and hatred for a huge section of the American population, which I do think it is, even if you want to look past that, then it's a symbol of treachery. And it probably should have been outlawed 200 years ago after the South lost the war.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that's flown, It's like, this flag represents secession, right? Like, they didn't want to be part of the United States. Why is it on the United States Capitol buildings and, like, state lawns and stuff like that, It's... Right,
yeah, this should not be... I don't think it should be there. And to be full disclosure here, as we're talking about this, Alex and I are both from St. Louis, Missouri. So we're from a border state, a state that did not secede, but was a slave state. So... I'm sure that you heard about Ferguson, and that's part of St. Louis, it's part of North County, and Missouri is a state where the issues of the entire country get magnified because we're on that border between the North and the South. And so I have a lot of hope for Missouri, and I like to think that Alex does too. And
yeah, I'd like to have hope. I'm not sure how hopeful I am. For my home state.
But, just to be clear, right, we're not two guys from Massachusetts talking about how the South needs to take the Confederate flag down. We're from a state where it is
where you drive. You don't even have to drive an hour. I was going to say you drive an hour south of St. Louis and you see it. But honestly, in St. Louis, you still see it. And that's the thing I was going to say. I 100% agree with you, 100% support the flag being removed from state, property and, any kind of government building. And I think if you have any lick of common sense, you should not be flying this flag at your house or putting it on your car. Like, I don't know, maybe you should, I guess, because it's a surefire way for me to, ignore what you have to say.
And, if you want this flag to be a symbol of heritage and not a symbol of hate, you got to get hate groups to stop using that. And it's on you.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
So, there it goes. But, that said, when we're talking about games, when we're talking about history, I am very cautious about historical revisionism. And I think that the Civil War needs to be better understood throughout the entire country, and the Confederate battle flag is definitely part of that. And so I'm glad that Apple has been slowly repairing and looking at their apps to get this back and to not just sweepingly ban everything that even shows the Confederate flag, even if it's showing in a negative light or in a historical light.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when it's used in, a sardonic sense, I'd like to poke fun at it, that's 100% okay. If it's used in, as an express, honestly, there are very limited instances in video game form where I think it'd be unacceptable to display the Confederate flag, right? Because, you have so many games about World War II, and even games like Wolfenstein, where obviously they're plastered with the Nazi flag. And
not in Germany, they're not.
Yeah, not in Germany. It's true.
Just saying.
That's true.
Just saying. The Germans knew how to take care of business when it came to outlawing evil flags. I'm just saying we could take notes.
It's true. But I think especially in a historical context, in any of these educational games or games where they discuss the facts and the battles and the figures and the reasoning behind the Civil War, I think it's important to have that imagery there. And this is just an overreaction to a good thing that was happening following a good small, not even half measure, but quarter or 10th measure that was taken as a result of the terrible things that have been happening in the American South recently. But just Apple going a little bit too far with it. It's good, though. I mean, this is a little bit older of a story because it kind of happened right after we recorded last time and then has been developing over time. So Apple's kind of been, like you said, been adding a lot of this stuff back. But I think there's some weird process now. Like, it's not exactly obvious what use of it will or won't get you removed from the App Store. I think that's still a little bit unclear at this point, at least from everything that I've read. But at least they're taking measures to kind of counteract their knee-jerk, remove everything with the flag on it.
And, I'm sure that as they keep going, they will make a better system, right? Because Apple's not in the business of just, blanketly removing content that they want to have there. But it is important, I think, that they are looking at things and deciding what is an appropriate use of it. And yes, you could say that that's Apple censoring free speech, but when you're this close to hate speech, I think that you do need to take a good look at it.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue. That's almost a perspective section for another time. This whole creator freedom / censoring. Like, I think that's very misunderstood, especially in the games community. Like, when creators will change stuff based on feedback and how that is different from censorship if they're changing it themselves. But that's...
That sounds like a great perspective for another week. Alex, why don't you tell us something exciting from this week? What do you think's the most impactful story?
Okay, well, yeah. First, story 0. This is not necessarily what I think the most impactful is, but I know we go through a lot of news, and a lot of video game news is just like quick hits, blah, blah, blah. Nothing ever gets expanded upon. Well, we have a couple developments from last week's big 2 stories. If you remember, the big 2 stories were not so great. They're kind of downers. So I'm not going to spend too long here because I want to focus on cool stuff this week. But last week we talked about how Batman Arkham Knight had horrible, pretty terrible game-breaking issues on the PC version. Last I checked, there's still a lot of issues. I think a patch was released, or a patch is imminent to try and fix these releases, but it's still in a pretty unacceptable state. And then we found out this past week that Warner Brothers, the publisher for Batman Arkham Knight, knew about these PC issues for months. These were known about. These were known performance issues. But according to leaked sources, so source leak. So again, this is anonymous. We don't have any verification for this. But people internal to WB and the testing said that there were huge performance issues on all the lead platforms, PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and they prioritized fixing the PS4 and Xbox One version much more than the PC. So PC got neglected. They obviously got the Xbox One and PC and PS4 versions running great, because I haven't heard any issues with the 2 of those, but that didn't leave them enough time to fix the issues with the PC version. And aside from just being the bigger people and being like, hey, look, we had, if they had just been honest and been like, hey, look, guys, we hope you're excited for Batman. Unfortunately, I know we're only 3 weeks out, but we're going to have to delay the PC version. It's in an unplayable state right now. If you want it earlier, I'm really sorry you have to buy it on the consoles, but please just bear with us a little bit longer while we release some fixes, and then we'll get it to you as soon as possible. But they didn't do that. They just took people's money and be like, hey, whatever, who plays on a PC anyways? And it's just another sad story. But we're not going to go too much into that. Hopefully, we can have another follow-up in next week that they fix these issues. And then another of our big downer stories was the Destiny Red Bull Special Quest promotion. Get your specially marked can from 7-Eleven of Red Bull and use your code to get it's not an exclusive quest, but it's a quest that you can get months earlier if you drink Red Bull. Which
I would like to reiterate is one of the dumbest things I have ever heard of.
So, as you might expect, this whole thing has been a cluster of problems and...
I see what you did there.
and issues. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you listened to the last episode, but my editing is on point.
I did. I enjoyed it. You were on your game there, buddy.
But apparently, as you might have expected, these cans have been super hard to find because they're at 7-Elevens, but they're sometimes at select 7-Elevens, and a lot of the 7-Elevens don't know to get extra of these, so they're will have very limited stock. The Code Redemption website has crashed and been like nonstop crashed since it's launched. And apparently there's some issues with the code generation that was used by Red Bull or by Bungie or whomever who put these codes on there. And so a lot of people, even if they get the Code Redemption site to work, will put in their fresh code that they got off their can and be told by the system, this code's already been redeemed. So,
hey, Alex, so what you're telling me here is that we've got artificial shortages and broken code, and I'm just wondering when Bungie started taking notes from Nintendo.
Yeah, right? Well, at least Nintendo games work, right? So there's always that.
That's true. That's true. But, like, every Best Buy in America is getting, like, a Dark Pit, so...
Yeah, right? Get your exclusive one Dark Pit at Best Buy. Oh, God, that's a whole other thing. So, yeah, that's a travesty. Who knows if that's going to get fixed? Honestly, at this point, it just sucks, because Bungie's a game I'd still like to be excited about, but Bungie, Activision, had just literally taking every step they can to push people who invested early, and even people like who just want to play all the content the game has to offer further and further away. Anyway, but that's not my most impactful story. Those are just updates. I think the most impactful story this week is an exciting one. So, according to some anonymous sources and some talk from Nolan North, famous voice actor extraordinaire, so we've gotten some maybe leaked details about Amy Hennig's new Star Wars game with Visceral at EA.
Tell me more.
Because, so we talked about this on our E3 predictions special.
Yeah, man, I was psyched about it.
I don't want to say the wrong episode title, but I think it's episode 7 or something. Maybe episode 6. I don't know. Either way, we talked about it. Amy Hennig was the lead behind Uncharted. She did Uncharted 1 and 2, I think, and then she worked together with Neil and Bruce on 2 and 3. But basically, she was the Uncharted person. And so, again, she started with this Uncharted 4 at Thief's End, but then something we still don't really know what happened at Naughty Dog. Something happened, though, pretty big, which resulted in Amy Hennig leaving Naughty Dog. And everyone's like, oh, whoa, what's happening? Like, Uncharted is her baby, is her project. But, she's such a fantastic writer and such a strong, figure in video games. We all knew she was going to land on her feet. We pretty quickly found that she landed on her feet at EA, and we knew right away that she was going to be working on a Star Wars game.
I'm pretty sure that EA saw Naughty Dog screw up their relationship with Amy Hennig one way or another, and it wasn't so much her landing on her feet as them being like, we've laid out this really nice feather mattress for you to jump on until you feel comfortable enough to write us a Star Wars game.
Yeah, so, the details we got are kind of like what I would have guessed anyway, just given but probably what EA wants with a Star Wars game, especially with their other Star Wars property, and then just with Amy Hennig, what she excels at. But the rumors are that the game has basically, it's inspired by her work on Uncharted. It's probably going to be some third-person action game. So third-person character-driven action game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like kind of third-person shooting with like hover kind of stuff. And allegedly is going to have vibes very similar to that Star Wars 1313. That was that game they showed off, I think, 3 E3s ago. It looked really kind of cool. It was basically, a third-person lightsaber-y kind of action game, but it was gritty. I think it was set in Coruscant or something, like with bounty hunters, and it was supposed to be mature. And but that was with when LucasArts had the rights to making Star Wars video games. So now that Disney owns Star Wars, the rights shifted. LucasArts kind of got shuffled and folded, shuttered and folded. So yeah, so it's excited. So basically, Uncharted in space is what we have to look forward to. Fliss, are you excited for Uncharted in space?
I'm absolutely excited for Uncharted in space. I really liked Guardians of the Galaxy, which was Avengers in space.
That's the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movie.
We can debate that, but I think I'm actually. I don't know. The original Iron Man was really good.
It's close, but go on. Guardians.
Okay, well, hey, Guardians has a talking raccoon, so I was sold there.
Oh man, that would sell you. Talking raccoon.
He has a giant gun, and his best friend is a tree with feelings. Come on. What more do you want from your characters? So yeah, Uncharted in space. I'm absolutely there. I'm all about it. It sounds great. Amy Hennig's extremely talented. I really hope she can deliver something great, and I believe in her. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it sucks we don't have more details. But if stuff like this is starting to leak, I think it might be at a certain place where, like, if leak sources know it, and then potentially even voice actors know about it, it might be pretty decently far along. So it might be something we even hear about at, I don't know, some upcoming conference. Maybe not Gamescom. That's a little bit too soon. That's
you know what I would be all about?
Yeah.
Is if they were just secretly developing this game and pushing it really hard, and if they just quietly let little things trickle out, and then we got to E3 next year or 2 years from now, probably more likely 2 years from now, and they just, straight up pulled like Fallout 4, where they were just like, that Star Wars game you've been so excited about, we're releasing it tomorrow! Like, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be, but it's EA, so it's not going to happen. Right. It's going to, let's see, last year's E3, they showed us concept art from Mass Effect to try to get us excited about a new game. They might as well just shown us, like, some random, like, scribbles on Post-it notes. We're working on a new Mass Effect. Here's a Post-it note. We blurred it. To be
fair, concept art is kind of what sold Bloodstained.
That's Igarashi is what sold Bloodstained. Let's be honest.
That's true.
Nobody cares what it looks like. People care that it's Koji Igarashi and Bloodstained and more Castlevania, which I might talk about a little bit about in Experimental Methods. But yeah, so I think this is good too, because I was worried that they might try to do more shooter stuff, since EA does a lot of shooter stuff. And with Star Wars Battlefront, I know they don't have a single-player campaign, so I'm sure people are still left wanting on that end. But I think it just might have been weird and risky to have too many, like, first-person Star Wars shooter games. Like, you can only play so much first-person shooter games, period, but you really want two set in the Star Wars universe. And that could be my own reaction, too, because I'm much more lukewarm on Star Wars than I think almost any, like, nerd or gamer or, honestly, even just person these days I've met. But I'm just excited for any Hennig can do anything, and I'll probably at least give it a go.
I'll quote you on that at some point.
All right. We'll see. She makes good games. She has
a great track record. I will give you that. I don't know. Your lack of excitement about Star Wars is more understandable in a post prequels world, but I'm still, I don't know. I can't tamp it down. I'm still excited about The Force Awakens. That movie's probably going to suck, and I'm still excited about it.
I don't know. JJ did an admirable job with Star Trek reboot, so I think he'll do an admirable job.
He did an admirable job with Star Trek 1. Star Trek 2 was a mess.
Yeah, Star Trek 2 is not good.
I've got an idea. Let's reboot a franchise so we can make a bad remake.
Ugh,
oh, God. Star Trek 2 was just...
what was it even? Enter Darkness? What was it called?
It was called Wrath of Khan, but sucky.
Yeah, right. That's what it should have been called.
That's what it was called. It was called Bad Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, so that's cool. I'm excited about this. As one little piece, this isn't really a news story because nothing's been confirmed, but I figured I'd say it here. Nolan North was doing some Q&A at some convention, and maybe let slip that Last of Us 2 is being worked on. It's not quite clear. There hasn't been any clarification, but he's kind of like, oh yeah, Last of Us 2, oh yeah. They're working on it, but I don't know what I'm going to do because, my character, who knows? So potentially that's a thing too. Nolan North letting all that info slip. But, obviously he hasn't commented on it. Naughty Dog hasn't commented on it. They're not going to talk Uncharted. They're not going to talk Last of Us 2 until Uncharted 4 comes out, certainly. But back to the EA, Amy Hennig Star Wars thing. That's cool. Not much to go off of, but I'm excited. New games always excite me, so that is my most impactful story.
Well, that's excellent. Well, there's actually a surprising amount of good stuff to talk about here, and I know you've got some more for us, so take us into another story, man.
All right, let's go to story number 2. Public funding for games. This is actually an issue that's come up pretty prominently in this past week and a half of news. You linked in the show notes this great story about how France and a lot of Europe too, and other stories, is trying to make it easier for video game studios to receive tax breaks. And one of the stipulations now with this new French initiative is there has been public funding available, but it's kind of hard. You need to fit a certain kind of classification of like a certain level of artsiness almost. I mean, it's not necessarily the best way to put it, but a certain level of, being a work of art and not a video game, even though those two things aren't necessarily separated, separable from each other. But like one of the initiatives that, and this article at least speaks about how mature games are also eligible now, so that's kind of a step in the right direction. But this brings about this larger issue of video games are one of the few arts in Europe, but especially here in America, where there's really no public funding whatsoever for video games. You've got so many foundations, public foundations and private foundations, as well as even government programs like tax incentives and tax breaks for so many different kind of forms of arts, especially television, film, and even some music, and then traditional art too. But video games, there's nothing. There's no programs in place here, at least that I know of. There are very, very limited programs here in the United States now. And this raised an issue for public funding for video games in a great piece by Austin Walker over at Giant Bomb that I linked in my news and views, I think, last week over on the Impact Factor, my blog. How the studio A Tale of Tales, like to make these more experimental artistic games. They had a recent game, Sunset, that they try to make it more mainstream. I think you play as a maid, and I think it's civil rights era. But basically, you get to explore like a studio, like an apartment, and while cleaning it, learn about the lives of people. But the game bombed. It did terribly in sales, even though all I saw about it were positive reviews. It financially was a bummer, and the studio they had to shut down because they invested too much money into the project and didn't make enough back, and so Austin Walker took that time to talk about how we should have public funding for games, because you constantly are hearing these stories about so many like independent developers who have like a great critically successful game that's interesting and exciting and does something cool, but it doesn't sell enough copies, so they have to fold or they have to make something that sells. And this is one thing. I keep going on a lot of tangents here, and I'll let you talk in a second, Fliss. But a lot of people complain about how at E3 there's so many. It's so easy to be like, look at all these games. They just look like complete focus tested, focus group approved. Same. Oh, look, another first-person shooter. Oh, hero shooters are popular. So all these games do this. Like they're all like, they just look like they're designed to sell. Well, of course they're designed to sell because that's the only way these studios are making any money. You need to have a game that sells, otherwise you can't make games.
I was having a great conversation with my father about the new Fantastic Four movie. I promise this is related, because in the big deal, for those of you who haven't heard, is that in the new Fantastic Four movie, the Human Torch is black, and that Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, is adopted into his family. And so that's pretty cool, but I was kind of complaining that, if they were going to do this, why not just go whole hog, right? Like, why not just make the Storm siblings both black, right? That would be great. That would be super cool to see, right? And, my dad pointed out that a lot of these big Hollywood studios play Moneyball with their focus groups and with their casting choices. And they say, well, casting this actor, casting this kind of part in this role will change how much money we make this much. And I'm sure that these really big game studios are using advanced statistics, are looking at what their focus groups are saying, and are trying to absolutely maximize the profits from every little choice that they can in the game design. And so for people who complain that these things look like they're designed to sell, well, like you pointed out, yeah, they are. Of course they are. Don't be stupid. Of course they are. But if you want to see a game that's not designed to sell, that's designed to be innovative, that's designed to be a real game, then work for public funding for games, and also use your own money to find worthwhile games that you can fund using crowdfunding like Kickstarter, and promote those things. Give your time and your money to promoting independent games, and maybe don't buy the next Call of Duty. Think about that.
Yeah, it's just rough because it's so hard for people to kind of make games that do interesting things or have non-traditional experiences or non-traditional narratives or non-traditional characters or non-traditional gameplay loops, because it's so especially now that the market is so flooded with so many different games, marketing is a nightmare for these small studios. They barely have the budgets to develop these games, let alone market their games. And then if they're not these focus group, focus tested kind of products, they can't sell. And so it's strange to me that games have gotten to the point where they are now, and there's still like no tax incentives for game studios to make games. And I think it's something that needs to happen, as already video games are like the largest entertainment industry out there. It's just bizarre. It's just bizarre. And a lot of great art has come from video games. I'm definitely a proponent of calling games art. I think games are art, but I think not all games want to be art and have to be art. So I think there are artistic games and games that are made to be art, and games that aren't made to be art but have artistic value. And I also say there are games that are just that have artistic value, but in a sense that they're just games. I just think that they're important pieces of entertainment and art and pop culture, and should have at least similar tax incentives as other forms of art have all around the world.
Well, just keep in mind that there's a lot of stigma for games trying to become art, and it's only really in the last, I'm going to be generous and say like 40 years, that we've really started to consider pop culture as something worth preserving, as something worth recognizing as a cultural heritage, and as something that needs to be in museums, and something that needs funding and needs to be encouraged and grown actively by the public. And I mean, Alex, can you imagine getting up as a candidate for any form of office and saying, you know what, I support public funding for video games?
Yeah,
you'd be laughed off the stage.
That's not going to get you any votes. Oh, man.
I mean, any potential candidates out there listening who care about this one small expat Missourian's vote, you would get my attention real fast if you start talking about public funding for video games.
There's something. Well, Bernie Sanders, he has public funding for everything, right? So maybe
hey, that guy has a lot of really good ideas and some genuinely progressive ideas, and I hope he gets more momentum, and we'll see how he develops. But this is not a politics cast. It's a video game cast.
That gets into dangerous territory.
Yeah, we're going too far here. So yeah, I agree with you about video games being art, but you know what else I think video games can be, Alex? I think video games can be sports. And you know who agrees with me? The betting platform Unicorn.
Yeah, is that how we're going with the pronunciation on that?
Well, how would you want it? Unicorn?
I don't know. It looks like maybe
right?
unicorn? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Either way, go listen to the story.
Yeah, anyone from Unicorn who wants to correct us on the pronunciation of their company, please let us know. But they're a betting platform who wants to make esports the thing you can bet on, and they've got a huge amount of investment capital that they're putting together to do this. And man, I think that this is awesome. I think this is great. I think this is a huge step for esports.
Esports, yes. I mean, it wouldn't be a week if Fliss wasn't talking about esports news.
Gotta represent.
Nah, I mean, I feel you. I like talking about competitive gaming as well. And I think if honestly maybe
you mean esports?
I think honestly we should specialize at that. That's a niche that I think is very under talked about still at this point. So, all right, new esports cast coming soon.
Yeah, man. Soon you're gonna need one of those wifty little section intervals.
I know. Yeah. We'll have to come up with something. Yeah, but so this unicorn, or unicorn, whatever you want to call it. It's been having like an investment drive. The people who are behind it have been going to basically to investment capitals and to big investors. One notable investor that I saw on the list of investors is Mark Cuban of Shark Tank fame, I guess. Self-made billionaire, owner of the Dallas Mavericks or whatever. I don't know, whatever. He's basically a big tech investor. He obviously sees value in this. So Unicorn, I don't do sports betting, so I don't know like the platforms and the way these things work. But basically, the investment capital for this is up to $7 million, and it's all just about esports betting. And so it's funny because, again, like everything else in the esports scene, the fighting game community has already like innovated on this thing. So, Fliss, I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit later. You wrote an excellent piece on your blog about how video game competition should be less like real sports and more like wrestling, WWE at least. But I think betting is an interesting way, again, to get people involved and caring about what happens on screen. And for a while, there's been a site that, at least in the context I've seen it used for, is mainly for fighting game tournaments, called Salty Bet. And so Salty Bet, you don't actually bet real money because there's a lot of legal headaches that go into having these online betting sites. But basically, you through using the site a lot, you can earn in-site currency, fake currency, and you can bet, and basically it lets you bet on fights. And Salty Bet's always been a big thing at EVO, the big tournament that's coming up soon. And so it's fun to just to bet on people who you want to win and see, and you can earn this currency that kind of feels real, because if you can bet 10,000 salty bucks or whatever, and you start with only 100 salty bucks, you're being yeah, it's awesome, it's cool. So just another way the fighting game community has already thought about these things and implemented some framework to make it happen.
I think betting is such an important and not talked about part of the American sports landscape. And, personally, I don't bet on sports, but I enjoy watching the Vegas odds. I enjoyed keeping track of that stuff just out of curiosity. For one thing, I really get excited when one of my teams beats the odds makers. I just think that's a nice, screw those guys. They never knew what they were talking about anyway. Kind of fun thing for fans. But, what's interesting to me about this, and I think that a real established platform could really take advantage of, is that when you look at horse racing or American football or baseball, there are all these different things and different ways that people bet, and people bet on, overs and unders and point spreads. And I mean, can you imagine what this would look like in a MOBA?
I can't
even something like Heroes of the Storm. Can you imagine being able to place a bet not only on the outcome, but on which player would have the most of a certain kind of damage, and which player would garner the most experience, and who would get the most takedowns,
or which team gets the first objective, or how many Merc camps does a team get in a game? Yeah, and there's so many betting things, and I think this is important because and
time, how fast do they take down the core?
Oh man.
And that's just one game. And I mean, you could do this for fighting games too, right? Where you could bet on, look at Super Street Fighter, right? You could bet on ultra finishes or super finishes, who wins, or how fast they win,
or perfects, or how many parries they can pull off. There's so much that can be bet on. And I think this unicorn thing, I think is, at least at this stage, is only good because for two reasons. First, part of Unicorn's goal, the people who are making this Unicorn, have said that part of the reason why they want this betting platform, obviously aside from making money, is to legitimize esports and competitive sports, and make the scene grow larger. And I think a big part of making the scene grow larger, as we talked about this last time, I'm sure we'll keep talking about, people go where the money is. And with a Geico sponsorship, Geico sponsoring Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm tournaments, and now this, if there's legitimate big sponsors putting money into the scene, and then people who have to care about the scene because they want to make money off of esports betting, people are going to care more and more about it. If companies are caring about it and bettors are caring about it, I think it's only a matter of time. And obviously, rabid fans online care about it. It's only a matter of time until people come more and more around to watching esports. So
and while we're I agree with you completely. I think that anything that promotes esports, anything that legitimizes esports, is a good thing at this point.
We always have to say anything that just
esports. Yeah, and. Since we're talking about betting, just, quick reminder that, if you do enjoy betting, please bet responsibly. If you have a problem, seek help.
Yeah.
Because that messes people up. So take care of yourself, dear listeners.
Dear listeners.
All right, man. Let's see. We've got some really good stuff to talk about still left here. What else do you think made a big impact
All right,
this week?
This will be a quick one because again, there's a lot of my stories don't have a lot of stuff, but just got me excited. So there was a leaked new trailer for Persona 5. Whoa!
Woo.
Yeah. You're only not, trust me, you're only not excited because you haven't played a Persona game yet. Especially because you haven't played Persona 4 Golden yet. Again, I promise you, I heard a lot of people talking, like, going crazy for Persona, and I'm like, is it really that good? Is it really? Is it? And I played Persona 4 Golden, and I'm like, they were right. They were right to be excited.
Didn't you play that on Vita?
I did. Persona 4 Golden is only on Vita.
Yeah, I mean, I would buy a Vita, but there aren't any games on it.
Yeah, right, sure. There aren't any games on it.
Actually, no, I mean, I would love to get my hands on a Vita just because of all the Vita games I've banked from PlayStation Plus.
There's so many games on it. Like, so many indie games especially are cross-buy. And you have, I mean, in terms of Vita exclusives, there are a ton of good ones. Uncharted Golden Abyss, everyone loves. People say it's great. You've got Persona 4 Golden. You've got Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc. And that's just like a couple off the top. And there's a ton more. And Severed is coming out. That's going to be a Vita exclusive, at least first. Tearaway, for the longest time, was a Vita exclusive. There's a lot of this. I mean, the whole Vita has no games.
I would buy a Vita, but I'm actually saving money for a PS4 right now.
That's admirable. I say go for the PS4 first. There's going to be more games with the PS4 than the Vita. But yeah, so I think this past week, Persona 4 Dancing All Night, which is this new rhythm game that came out exclusively on the Vita, using Persona 4 characters, came out in Japan. I think people are liking it. Whatever. I'm excited to play it. I like rhythm games. Justine loves rhythm games, and so we're going to play it together. But I'm
going to let that one go. I'm going to let that one go. That is your freebie for the episode. You and Justine playing rhythm games together. That's your freebie for the episode.
Hey, man, don't knock it till you've tried it.
You're killing me, man. Don't knock it till you've tried it. You're killing me. You're killing me here.
I'm not, I don't know what
I'm trying to keep this a family-friendly podcast.
I don't know what you're talking about. So I think included in some game, maybe some like special ending or some, I don't know where it is, but within the game was this Persona 5 trailer. It's online. It looks awesome. It's new footage that we haven't seen. I was kind of bummed because following E3, apparently at the Atlas booth at E3, there was a huge like display for Persona 5 and like a lot of things there, but it wasn't playable and they didn't really show anything, and there wasn't even a new E3 trailer, which is kind of bizarre for a game that's supposed to be coming out this year in both the US and Japan. It's a little weird. I'm maybe a little skeptical maybe that it's not coming out in 2015. I'd still like to think it is. They gave a reason. Atlas said, like, well, the game, Persona games are all about learning about it as you play, and there's a lot of secrets, and we don't want to go into it, so we don't want to show too much. And if that's true, okay, I can respect that, because, I mean, you do see way too much of games before they come out. But I don't know. That might be the color. But either way, this trailer looks great. I'm excited for it. It looks like you're in, like, a big city, like, for the first time, like, a real big city, and the characters look cool. The art is gorgeous. Looks like they're using like an updated version of the engine that they used on Catherine, which already looked great. They've shown 4 of the protagonists who look interesting. I just can't wait to like learn about them, try to romance them, and be best friends, and get my social link up. And
can't believe you're doing a dating sim.
It's not a dating sim, man.
It's a dating sim. Man.
It's not a dating sim.
It's a dating sim. It's a dating sim. Do you snuggle up to your waifu pillow?
I don't have no waifu pillow. I know you do.
That's only until your birthday present arrives. Then you'll have a waifu pillow.
We can talk about birthday presents later. I got some good ones. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm super excited for Persona 5. It looks cool. They showed the thing is I've been liking about both these Persona 5 trailers is it's interspersed like these anime cutscenes, which are like a big part of the series, as well as actually showing gameplay, and the gameplay looks really cool. So I'm on board. It just needs to come out, and I will get it. And I will play it. That will be another 90 to 100 hours of my life down the drain.
Yeah, man. Just make sure you don't sabotage your relationship with your actual girlfriend for all
she's going to be playing it with me. She's going to be playing it with me, telling me, what choices, what dialogue to make, what things to do with my time, who's the best.
Is she your virtual wingman?
Yeah.
When you're romancing on your dating sim?
Yeah, definitely.
You just confirmed it's a dating sim.
But there's a game you're excited about.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about what is effectively a new Duke Nukem game, but better. Bombshell, man. Bombshell. 3D Realms, the original studio for Duke Nukem, is coming up here. The studio that's made the most recent Duke Nukems. And they had to hand over the IP to who did they have to hand it over to?
I think
Gearbox.
Yeah, there's a lot of people had it, but I know Gearbox has it the most recently.
Yes, they handed it over to Gearbox, and so they lost that because they had to get Duke Nukem Forever finished, which was a total mess and a huge disappointment for anyone who likes the character Duke Nukem. I'm amongst those people. Just wild, over the top humor, but you know what's going to make this game better? Is we have a new female protagonist. That's right, we've replaced Duke Nukem. Now we have the title character here, Bombshell, and she looks great. She looks like she's going to kick all kinds of butt in this game. And, you know, the more games that we get with female leads, with characters of color in the lead, the better. And what a huge step for a traditionally, honestly, like, chauvinist pig IP like Duke Nukem.
Sure. Yeah, no,
what a great big step.
It's cool too. So I think we need to clarify too for anyone who checks out Bombshell. It's not Duke Nukem in the sense it's first-person shooter. This is an isometric kind of looks maybe twin-stick shootery kind of game. So I'm not really sure what to make of the gameplay itself, but like it looks cool. It looks fun and fast and brutal, and I guess the character's name is Bombshell. She looks awesome.
I believe so. Yeah,
she looks badass. Definitely reminds me a little bit of like a Furiosa from Freya Road.
Oh, we're gonna get to that.
But no,
V8.
It's cool. This is one of those E3 pieces of news that came out that, like I said, a lot can get buried because so much is talked about. And I didn't hear about this until you linked it. Like that, there was a new Duke Nukem game, and they were talking about it at E3. So yeah, it's tentatively exciting. I'm not a Duke Nukem fan. A Duke Nukem 2 or whichever one people like. I mean, the game is great. Like, it's well designed. The shooting is fun. I mean, like every other kid from our generation, I played it on a school computer when like some kid had like illegally installed it onto those computers.
Oh yeah,
That Chex Quest, which is like the bad, like reskin of Doom that felt like Duke Nukem.
Duke Nukem is a property that has so much potential for humor and for fun, and has just been mishandled badly.
The thing is, I just don't know if Duke Nukem works anymore in the game scene.
I mean, I think the character of Duke Nukem has run his course. I don't think that he's appropriate anymore, which is why I'm excited about continuing that kind of over-the-top humor in hopefully a more appropriate kind of way.
Yeah. And then let's get to one last little quick news item. Maybe two little quick news items here. We always have too much to talk about. We're too greedy. We're too greedy with our stories. Speaking of...
Race us through them. All
right. So speaking of being able to play as a awesome, cool-looking female protagonist and Bombshell, who's hopefully well-written as well, let's just put that out there.
Unlike basically all of the new Avengers movie.
Nintendo would have you rather cross-dress as Zelda than be able to play as a female character in their new Triforce Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes game. Tell the folks a little about this.
Okay, well, Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, not the Legend of Zelda game that you wanted, Legend of Zelda game released by Nintendo. It's a 3-player multiplayer, which is extremely odd to me. But
4 swords minus 1.
Right. Yeah. The 3 swords. But yeah, Triforce Heroes, they came out with this, and one of the things you do in the game is you get different outfits that give you power-ups. And these outfits are getting more creative than just, the red, blue, and, whatever color skins you get.
Purple.
In Ocarina of Time. And thank you, Alex. And so, you've got, like, some really crazy stuff. But one of the things you can get is Zelda's dress. And so you can get yourself some Zelda powers by being Link and putting on Zelda's dress. So don't worry, boys. You don't have to play as a girl. You just have to put on her dress to assume her powers.
Yeah, and I saw a lot. Yeah, and then like the interview, I forget. I think I saw it posted on IGN, but I'm not sure who the interviewer was. They asked like why you can't, with 3 characters and with like, these female outfits, or Zelda's outfit, why you can't play as a female character. And basically the explanation was, well, we wrote it to have male character. The story is about a male hero of time, and so they're males because the male hero of time. So it's like a weird, like it's a very cyclical kind of logic. Well, the story is about male heroes, so you play as a male, and because you play as a male, like the story is about male heroes. Duh.
Yeah, and in that same ridiculous interview, One of the things he also said was like, we have female staff members who are playing the game and enjoying
Yeah,
it.
they like it. That's that's a video game equivalent to I Have a Black Friend.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got it. You got it right there. That was it. But I have a female gamer friend, man.
She doesn't mind. I mean, I guess again, I get it. I don't want us to ever feel like, you have to include a female character just to have a female character. But if they're going to the lengths that they have to already, like, you can play, is a dress-up game. Like, dress-up mechanics are part of it, and, like, that's something, like, that, obviously, that's really cool, and it just seems like it easily could have, you can't just put, like, instead of, have the exact same character model, but instead of, like, the normal Link hair, just have, like, a ponytail or something.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know.
It seems like they are now going to great lengths to not let you play as a girl, and that seems ridiculous.
Yeah, again, I get it. I know there's a lot of that nerd rage, blah blah. Link has always been a male character. Well, Link, whatever. That's fine, but
Link also hasn't had 3 different versions of himself traditionally.
Yeah,
maybe
different
there's
game.
a girl side to Link. Maybe there's a side of Link that likes to put on Zelda's dresses.
Yeah, no, that'd be a Link I'd be interested in playing. And then the last little bit here. Some Star Citizen news. We haven't really talked about this, but this is the biggest, most crowd-funded game of all time. I don't know, there's something like $60 million. Something insane. I don't even know how to describe it. Space exploration game. Let's just leave it at that. They were working on a first-person shooter module for the game. That looked actually pretty cool in the demos they showed off, but they announced that it's kind of delayed indefinitely as they're trying to work to make like the rest of the game a final product and out for people to play. So it kind of sucks, but the game is already so massive in scope. I'm not really surprised that they kind of their eyes got a little bit too wide with the potential of stuff, and have had to since rein in their expectations.
Yeah, so disappointing news, but I guess not entirely unexpected given the scope of what they're trying to build.
Yeah, but you're excited for Star Citizen, right?
I am. I'm hoping it'll deliver. It's not a game that I helped to fund, but it is one that I'm waiting for eagerly to see what it actually brings to the table.
Nice. So I think that'll about do it. But we'd love to hear from the community the news items you guys thought had the biggest impact. So please feel free to shoot us an email at impactfactorpodcast@gmail.com. I swear, maybe we'll get an email one day.
Still hoping.
Someone. Oh, gosh.
Anyone out there?
Yeah, please. So now it's time to put things in perspective. Perspectives is part of the show, well, when any number of things can happen. In academia, it's when investigators share their opinions with the community at large. Here it's a revolving section where we experiment with what's worth discussing. Usually Fliss and I will pick out an editorial piece and discuss it together, which we kind of did today, but we're also kind of using this as our own soapbox in a sense. To talk about some stuff. So let's get it started. Fliss, what do we have to talk about today?
Okay, well, this is VR week on the Impact Factor. We've got 2 articles that we're going to talk about to kind of give us a gateway to talk about VR in general and how we're feeling about the development of VR and its potential. Both of these come off of Gama Sutra, and the first one is called Innovative VR Ideas in Bizarre, and it's brought to us by Todd Semple, who helped develop a game called Bizarre for the Oculus, and the idea for the game was to give you a completely motion controlled, gaze controlled, that's the buzzword, gaze controlled game, which is to say you can control the entire game just by using your head, just by looking at different places, and you don't have to use the controller to engage with it. So that's a very ambitious idea, very cool idea, and he kind of gives us some perspectives into how they made the game and what they learned as they were trying to make this game. And, the game has kind of an interesting idea. You're trying to kind of find things and collect things as you travel through a bazaar, kind of generically kind of Moroccan-looking place, and on a magic carpet. So, no Orientalism here.
Nope.
No, sir.
Nope.
But, whatever. And then you're trying to assemble constellations in the sky that you can look at it. So, I mean, it's a cool article. It's really great for people who are interested in game design. Alex, what did you think about this piece?
Yeah, so actually, this piece was really, for me, kind of interested, at least as an outsider, and maybe someday as an insider about game design. It's really interesting because there are a lot of issues when you have a fully 3D, 360 world for someone to look at to be able to point them towards objectives. So in traditional games, there's so many like indicators to get people to go where you want to go. And of course, these are like tested and they go through multiple rounds of reiteration to get a player to go where you want them to go. But in a VR experience, when you're looking all around, it's hard to like direct them. And especially in this gaze controlled game like Bizarre, it's interesting the techniques they use to focus in on people. And especially one of the things they talked about here was one of the ways to deal with motion sickness. Because it's so easy for people who are looking around and stuff is moving very rapidly around them to get that kind of nausea and that inner ear triggering that makes people experience the many issues that people have reported with VR. And so I think it's cool. So like framing a line in the center of the screen and have it like move at a certain speed depending on how closer you're getting to like an objective is really important. And so it's just cool to like see through obviously the many iterations that the team had to go through to make this gaze controlled VR a reality. So I think it's interesting. The game is not necessarily looks like something that people would play for a long time, but looks more like an experiment with VR, the kind of things you can do. And we're at that stage now where people are going to experiment with the technology to see what kinds of experiences you want. Like, I've always been more excited about that in VR than, like, when VR was first announced, people were like, oh, I can't wait to play Call of Duty VR. And I'm like, well, I think Call of Duty works as a traditional game. I want to play games of VR that would never work as a traditional, flat screen or whatever you want to call it kind of game.
Well, yeah, man, thank you for that's an excellent summary of that article. It's a great perspective on what he's talking about. But, how do you want to hear your VR games? Do you want to use the built-in headphones, or do you want to use your own headphones? And that's kind of what our second article talks about today, which is music composers and sound designers in VR, the headphones problem. This is brought to us by Winifred Phillips, again on Gamasutra. And she talks about how a lot of these VR machines have built-in headphones that they come with, but they're designed so that you can use your own quote-unquote high-quality headphones. And the problem with this is that this means that game designers are losing control over what sound delivery system you're using to experience their game. And so most gamers prefer to use surround sound headphones at the top of the line. We're talking about, when you look at like real high quality, when you say high quality headphones in game parlance, you mean surround sound. And this is a big problem because a lot of VR games are not designed that way. They're designed for very specific reasons to be heard in stereo.
Yep.
And so we're looking at a problem where, they may have to rate games for what kind of headphones you should be using.
Yeah, right. I mean, because you have I can't even imagine the headaches of someone using surround sound headphones because you're surrounded by an image, but that would mean the sound that's happening in your surround sound headphones needs to come from where the image is. So let's say you're in some forest somewhere in your VR experience, and you're by a waterfall. Let's just say you're by a waterfall, but you're facing away from it. If the waterfall was back and to your left, it would need to sound sufficiently far away and sufficiently to your left, and then shift as you move closer to the water. Like that, I can't even, I don't code, I don't do any of that. But that seems like a nightmare.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. And I think what both of these articles kind of bring up for us in VR is, just like you were talking about a minute ago when it comes to creating new VR experiences, I think this shows us exactly how difficult it's going to be to try and translate traditional game experiences into a VR scape. I mean, can you imagine trying to code all that nightmarish sound into a Call of Duty?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, the surround sound works for Call of Duty because it's like sound ahead of you, sound at you, and sound behind you. Like, there's just those three dimensions there, as opposed to basically an infinite number of points in a circle around you, or at least a half circle around you.
Yeah, I mean, what if somebody shoots at you from behind? How are you gonna do that? What if somebody shoots at you from either side or from anywhere? Because that can happen in a first-person shooter.
Yeah, so as far as I know, there are very limited first-person shootery kind of... I've seen some first-person shooter tech demos. When I was at GDC, there was like a shooter tech demo for VR that involved that stationary treadmill things you could walk around. It was goofy. But then also we learned at E3 that the Gorilla Cambridge for Sony is working on a multiplayer shooter, arena-y kind of, Quake-y kind of shooter for the Morpheus, which, again, I feel like if any game is going to give me motion sickness on a VR game, it's an arena first-person shooter, but I guess I'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, both these stories are interesting, and we wanted to talk about VR for a number of reasons. First and foremost, one of the things we thought this was going to be, we thought VR was going to be the story from E3. But one of the kind of coming away from it, VR really wasn't the story, because one of the big issues with VR is you can't show it at a press conference. It does not demo well on stage. And I saw a lot coming out from people on the show floor, the people with these exclusive, appointments to try out the Morpheus, to try out, any of the other, to try the Morpheus, to try out the HoloLens. We're getting some of that from Minecon right now. People are trying out the HoloLens or trying out the Oculus. But it's one of those things you can't show on a stage. So this is a little bit of why we chose this too, because there's a little bit of a soapbox. I personally have some issues, but let's give some of your thoughts while I try to compose mine into kind of more eloquent way of going through the more salient points of VR talk.
Well, I am now on record as a VR skeptic. I am not excited about VR. And part of that is because I'm convinced that I'm going to get sick. And that as good a job as they're going to try and do, there's just going to be a lot of games that come out on VR that I'm just not going to be able to play. And if they prove me wrong, that's great. And I would love for them to do that. But I am so skeptical that they will be able to do that. And then the other thing, too, is that looking at a lot of these demos and a lot of these games, they just look boring. They're not interesting. And I'm sure that as they get a better handle on what to do with the technology, they will make better, more interesting stuff. But it just seems like a lot of weight and a lot of hype for something that's not actually delivering a whole lot of fun. And, maybe it is great. People coming off those private demos come out saying, this was awesome, this was great, this was next level gaming. And I want to believe them, but I can't, because I can't try it. And until I can put on a VR headset and try a game and have a really good time, I don't believe in VR.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And so I think that's something I tweeted about. It's something that kind of has been sticking with me for a while, and something that's been bothering me. But VR coverage, I don't think at this stage, VR coverage and VR talk is for the consumer. It supports a very limited insiders club of people who've been able to have be able to have these access to VR experiences, and it just really bothers me because this it's a positive feedback loop of hype and excitement for this thing that essentially is vapor for anyone who's not someone in the games industry. I just kind of go through some of these tweets here just to kind of compose myself here. The VR has been the lead story about video game and the next step for video games, but I just don't understand who the coverage serves. It certainly doesn't do a service to the consumer, and it's kind of getting increasingly frustrating. So what I've heard from this VR talk is that VR is amazing, but people just say VR is amazing, and of course that tells me nothing, because what's amazing? How do you define that amazing? What is it like? And then people will also, in their VR coverage, will talk about these VR games. Like you said, VR games often sound boring. I bet maybe they're not, but it's hard to know because we can't have our hands on our eyes on. But then even the games I described, it sounds very standard. Like one of the E3 VR demos that people were raving about was this heist demo for the Morpheus. But it just sounded like, oh, you rob a bank and you're in a car and you're shooting at people driving behind you. Like, that sounds like so standard. I'm sure it's exciting in VR, but telling me about them does nothing because I can't understand what it's like, playing a heist in VR is like until I play heist in VR. And then one of the points that really sticks with me the most is that every single person I follow in the games industry and every single thing I read is, well, us talking about it doesn't do any good. You really can't understand VR until you try it. Right? That's I'd say if one message comes across, every single person's like, for as much as we're talking about this and hyping this up, you really can't understand it till you try it. But here's the issue. No one can try it. Unless you're in the games industry, and unless you're going to these events and have these exclusive appointments, you can't try VR. Just from my personal experience, I went to GDC. I was at GDC this year, and I went to talks, and I was on the show floor. And at that point, Morpheus and Oculus were essentially still by appointment only. There was a line you could wait in at Oculus to hope to get a chance to try on VR, but I heard that line was in excess of easily 4-hour wait, and then you still weren't guaranteed. They were still turning people away. Functionally, the public has no access to VR of any kind, because sure, there's the Oculus prototype that people have bought, but not only is that insanely expensive, but it's a prototype and is almost certainly not indicative of what the final retail Oculus is going to be like. So the VR experiences you have with that are probably not going to be the same VR experiences you have with the final product. And I just don't understand how VR is going to overcome this. From a market standpoint, I don't know how understand how VR is overcome this, because it cannot be demoed on the big stage. And like people say, and talking about it, you can't understand it till you try it on. And these headsets are coming out next year. Both Oculus and Morpheus have said early/mid 2016. These headsets are really going to come out where the public has had no access to try them at all. How are they not going to fail? Like, people are excited, sure, but like you pointed out, Fliss, if you can't wear a headset, how are you going to know if you get motion sick? I don't want to invest Morpheus. Let's say Morpheus is the cheapest investment for me because I have a PS4 already. Let's just say it's $350, which I think is conservative. Do I really want to spend $350 on something that might make me motion sick after 2 minutes?
Yeah, man, I think that you brought up some really good points here. First one I want to talk to is that the games media and their coverage, and how this is really just self-serving and it's irresponsible. And I know irresponsible journalism gets thrown around a lot and in a lot of inappropriate ways right now when we talk about games coverage. But for me, this is just a story that's just there to have a story. And it's something that kind of everybody in the games media can kind of congratulate themselves on covering, and everybody who's developing this stuff can congratulate themselves on playing and developing, but it doesn't do us, the normal everyday readers, any good. And if you're excited about VR, if you disagree with me, if you want to hear about every time that Oculus goes to the bathroom, that's fine. Let us know. Tell me I'm wrong. You can tweet at me at the CFliss. But it does nothing for me. It is a huge waste of time and space. And I guess they have a right to publish that, but I also have a right to not care and not read it at all. And then moving on from that, right away, I think that until Morpheus and Oculus and all these VR systems that are coming out, until they can basically have one of their headsets out at GameStop, where you can go in there and try it out the way you've had, they've had their broken PS2 in those places for a million years. So, go until you can put it on, until you can try it. Yeah, there's no way to know, and there's no way for it to sell. And if they want to make it a commercial success, they've got to find a way of getting people out, of getting to try it, whether that's driving trucks on the college campuses or what. I don't know. Take your VR truck around and have people try it. I mean, they've done that before with other games and other systems. So I know we made a big push doing that. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, again,
they've got to find a way to market it.
I don't want us, especially me, to come off too much like, oh, well, because we're not in the industry, boo-hoo, we can't try out VR. But I think it's a serious issue, and I think what you said, Fliss, is exactly right. It's a very self-serving, positive feedback loop where game journalists just keep talking about it and keep getting other games journalists and keep this hype cycle going like crazy. But these aren't it doesn't serve anyone but themselves. Like, none of us in the public can try it. None of us in the public will get our hands on it probably until they're already out, which is a bizarre market choice to me. And then even then, these things are going to be huge investments. And so you think if they want them to work there would be ways to like get this experience out to people, but it's just frustrating. It is frustrating. And it sounded like at E3 too that most of these VR demos were by appointment only. So this is the E3 before VR comes out, and it's still appointment only. Like that's
doesn't sound right, does it?
But like, you even mentioned like at GameStop. Really, can you even do that though? Like, are you going to want to put on a helmet that hundreds of people have put on before you?
I mean, it's going to have to be like wear your own hat kind of deal.
But those things are made to like fit tightly on your head. So like wearing a hat probably would make it not fit and then not be able to immerse you in the image.
Well, you know, I've been not excited about VR for a really long time. If you have been with us since our early episodes here on the Impact Factor, we did have a talk when they first came out with the technical specs for some of these VR machines, and were giving us some of the ideas about pricing, and Alex over there was really excited about it and was hype and pumped, and so we've now been able to see a change in just about a month and a half where his excitement has been deflated.
Yeah, well, it just made me think, because I was getting excited. I was getting sucked into hype train. I think so many people get like, it's easy to get excited for stuff because I love being excited for video game stuff. I'm excited about new games. I'm excited about new technologies. Stuff gets me excited. I mean, that's why I do it. I think too many people, this is another very separate E3 thing, but too many people are very, I think, bitter and jaded, and it's easy to be snarky, and it's easy to say how stuff is too much the same. It's easy to say how stuff looks so boring or so derivative. It's easy to say, oh, this E3 is just a big commercial, and I mean, there's a lot of negativity in video game coverage, and I don't try to be that. I really don't try. I like to see the positive light of things. I like to see the stuff that is exciting and gets me excited. And so, of course, I was 100% on board the hype train, but kind of taking a half step back and kind of, as a scientist, what I like to do is, again, look at trends, look at the evidence, and see what I have before me. I really just don't know who this VR coverage serves, because I want to be excited about VR, but I won't be able to try VR till I buy it, and that's a big investment, and it just bums me out. I don't know I honestly don't know what they can do to address this VR problem. But until that point in time, I'm just going to try and tune out all these endless VR stories. Because there's new VR stories every week.
Just don't click.
Every week.
Just don't click on it.
Every podcast I listen to, too. And every week they're talking VR stories.
Skip that section. Use your 30-second skip jump button.
But yeah, so, I mean, I do think VR is exciting. I agree with you. I don't think it's the future of video games, but I think it's a future way to experience video games. But they've got some serious issues ahead of them. Like, are any of them even going to be successful? Like, at all?
And do any of us care?
Yeah, well, apparently you don't. I still care, but I'm certainly not going to buy it until I can try it. And I don't know if I'm going to want to try it in any of the contexts that I'll be able to try it at. So
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I will try VR when you buy it.
All right, well, we'll see. Maybe if it ever gets cheap enough, we'll see what happens there. Oh, so those are two stories. Again, these are both pieces from Gamasutra blogs that were featured there. One from Todd Semple talking about innovative VR ideas in their game Bazaar, and then from Winifred Phillips, music composers and sound designers in VR the headphones problem. So we'll link those in the show notes, but now that our work is done and logged, let's get into our experimental methods.
Experimental methods.
In experimental methods, Fliss and I talk about the video games we've been playing recently. No papers or pipettes, cells or senses here, just our words. We look at what works, what doesn't, and what we're looking forward to testing. So, Fliss, I told you last time, you're not allowed to talk Here's the Storm on the podcast. We're not doing that. I know you've played a lot of it. Did you play anything else? Something I may or may not have harassed you the entire time I was on vacation to play?
Yeah, I want to give my partner in crime here credit, because this guy went on vacation to Hawaii, Moneybags, and still managed to find the time to basically every day send me a text reminding me either to not play Heroes of the Storm or to play Demon Souls. And I feel like I shouldn't reward this kind of behavior, but I am going to reward this kind of behavior because I definitely played some Demon Souls.
Persistence pays off. Woo!
Yeah, man, it's a lot of fun, but you know what I did? I did not pick Royal.
Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm gonna have the full experience.
You're gonna drop the game because it's gonna be too hard, and you're gonna be like, "Well, I don't see why people like Demon's Souls. It's too hard and stupid." And then you're gonna drop it.
You're saying these things, and I'm gonna finish this game as a knight just to spite you.
Oh my god! Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right, so it's okay.
Care to make this interesting?
All right. Let's make it interesting. We talked about unicorn esports betting. What do we have on the line here?
Yeah, man. I don't know what's worth betting.
I don't know. Oh man, we should have planned this before. Here, folks, this is what happens when we go off script. Let's see.
All right, well we'll think about this. We got to come up.
All
with something here.
If you can beat the game, and let's have a relative time window. I'll give you a month and a half, 6 weeks. That's a lot of time. I know you're busy, but if you cannot beat the game in 6 weeks, you have to buy me a nice sports cap. And then vice versa. If you beat in 6 weeks, you can pick out a sports cap, and I'll buy it for you.
It's a deal.
All right.
It's on.
That's like approximately like $30 bet. That's pretty. Pretty legit.
That's pretty safe.
That's good. All right. We'll see.
Yeah.
Pressure's on. I'm giving you a lot of leeway here. This is your hat to lose.
All right, man. It's 6 weeks. I'm gonna come home from school and just play this game. We're gonna get out of here 2 weeks from now and just be like, so I'll take my hat in 7 1/4 Green Bay Packers.
I'm gonna see how I get the hat out to you, but that's logistics for a different time.
That's not part of it. We've got I mean, I'm not very far. I went through the tutorial.
Yeah, did you beat the tutorial?
Yeah, I beat the tutorial.
But I mean, by beating the tutorial, did you beat the tutorial, or did you have the tutorial beat you?
I mean, I didn't die in the tutorial, if that's what you mean.
Not even against that gray demon? At the end of the tutorial, there's the gray demon, which is basically a boss fight you're designed to lose.
Oh, yeah, he killed me.
Yeah, okay. You can beat that boss fight, by the way.
How do you beat that boss fight?
Very good dodge rolls and, 5 minutes of punching him.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
But then you still die after that. You still have to die to respawn in the
Nexus.
The Nexus.
It is the Nexus. So I'm still spending my time in the Nexus, whether it's the Heroes of the Storm Nexus.
No, yeah, you can't escape the Nexus.
Also, don't get mad at me the next time we log on to HOTS together, and I'm terrible because I haven't been practicing.
Yeah, I know you've been practicing. Don't lie. You're trying to lie for the show. You're trying to act like you haven't played at all because you haven't played so much Demon's Souls. I played.
No, I'm just saying in the future. Now that we've got a sports cap on the line, which, by the way, I want to give you credit. That's a great idea.
Thanks. I'm good at these spur of the moment kind of things.
That was good. I guess Justine must see something in you.
Yeah. So you've gone through the tutorial. You're in the Nexus. Have you gone to World 1-1 yet?
Yeah, I'm in 1-1, and I played 1-1 for quite a while, made it pretty deep into it, and then got killed, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to put this down for now. Not because... actually, you know what really got me about the game? Because I'd been playing it for probably, I don't know, not too long, actually, at that point, by the time I was deep into 1-1. Maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours-ish?
Yeah.
And what struck me was just the lack of music, man.
Yeah.
It was so weird. It was so weird.
It's unnerving, right?
Yeah, it was freaky.
Because every little enemy sound you can hear. It's important. Yeah. You need to hear. You need those audio cues to there might be a trap here. There might be someone hiding behind this barrier.
Yeah, it was, and I really I was enjoying playing around with the bloodstains and with the messages, and I don't know, some of those bloodstains, are they left there by the game or are those real? Because just you had to be an idiot to die the way some of these people were dying.
Hey, you learn through dying, so some people have crazy deaths just to have crazy deaths. No, they're all real. There's no planted bloodstains as far as I know.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. It's an aesthetic that I really love. I mean, sword and sorcery, that kind of stuff. I'm all about it. I can name every piece of armor my character's wearing because I'm a huge dork.
Do you have the fluted helmet yet or anything like that?
Hey, I taught you something at the Red Fair.
Yeah, oh god. You just now admitted to the internet that you did Red Fair.
I'm a Renian proud.
Oh god. Yeah, so cool. So you've gotten through. You didn't reach the 1-1 boss, though.
No, I haven't played the 1-1 boss yet.
All right. Trust me, there is music in the game, and it, this is not really spoilers, but every boss has its own theme. And so, like, when you enter, you have this long, unnerving silence in between, and then you step through the fog gate, and boss music kicks in, like, that feeling is so great. You're like, oh my, I'm in for something right now. Music started, what the heck is going on? This is gonna be ridiculous.
Oh man, yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited about it. And I'm looking forward to getting deeper into the game. The control scheme is a little weird to me, kind of using the triggers to fight as opposed to using the pad buttons.
Yeah, you gotta...
face buttons.
It's not an action game in that way. You're not pressing square and triangle and stuff to do attacks. It clicks, trust me. It works very well.
Yeah, getting the block and parry stab, which is a great animation in a game that really shows that it's from the last generation now. I mean, anyone who thinks the PS4 does not look beautiful should boot up Demon's Souls.
Yeah, it's 2009. It's like 6 years ago. It's allowed to look a little muddy.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. Again, I like the aesthetic. I like the medieval with horror kind of deal coming together. I think the ragdoll enemies are hilarious.
Oh man, that's so good. I love ragdoll. It's so good. Especially because you like kill a hard like knight, an armor. I don't know if you fought any of the black armored knights.
That's what killed me.
Yeah, okay. They're rough. But so you can have like hard, like minute long strafing and dodge rolling and take them out. And then like you fell your foe, you absorb their souls, and you run into their body and they ragdoll at your feet. They're like a wet noodle around your feet.
It's amazing to me because I really first encountered ragdolls through Gary's mod, and so it's just like all of a sudden I beat somebody and I'm in Gary's mod and I'm just kicking their body all over the place and into things.
It's so satisfying. I love the ragdoll. They took it out. I think Dark Souls 2 doesn't have ragdolls. I think, if I'm remembering correctly. But all the other ones do, and the ragdolls add something. It's good.
It's funny. I like it a lot. It's a game that I would honestly enjoy playing more if I had other people around while I was playing it.
Yeah.
Not just because it's kind of creepy, and I think that the darkness in the game kind of wears on you after a little while.
That's part of it. It's foreboding. You, like your character, are struggling in this plagued world, this demon-plagued world, and it's oppressive.
And we were just talking about video games as art, and there's a lot of modern art that makes me feel oppressed by how bad it is. And this is a game that is very deliberately making me feel unnerved and worried, and it's
Did you get hit?
Fun.
Did you get hit with that giant rolling ball trap on the stairwell going on?
I didn't. Somebody left a note.
There we go.
At the bottom and said, "There's a trap up ahead." And so I walked up, and sure enough, there comes the rolling ball. So I jumped off the stairwell and took some damage, more than I should have. But what I loved about it is that I go back up there and I get past the dude who's shooting crossbow bolts at you at the top of those stairs. And I get up there at the top, and there's another note that just says, "Told you."
Great. Those notes are awesome.
It was fantastic.
Oh, man. Did you rate them? Did you give them a good rating at least? Because if you rate people's messages, it heals their health, I think. I think that it's true in other games. I'm not sure if it's Demon's Souls. It's been a while since I played Demon's Souls, but
I believe it's true in Demon's Souls. And yes, I gave them a good rating.
Nice. So you got till mid-August. Let's just say August 14th. I think that's about 6 weeks from now. We'll see.
We'll give an official date.
We'll give an official date next podcast. You have until then to beat Demon's Souls. You don't necessarily have to do every single thing, but you need to beat the final boss and see the credits.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds fair. I mean, what's the time on the game?
You're probably looking at around 50 to 60 hours.
That sounds about right.
Maybe you could do it much faster, but this is your first Souls game, so it's going to take you a while.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I have things I have to do on the weekends.
Like lose a bet? I think that's what you have.
Oh, shots fired! Excellent. This is great. Yeah, man. No, I will. We'll see who's losing this bet when I'm sporting a fly new cap.
I think it's gonna be me who's sporting a new Sharks cap. Maybe I'm gonna go with a Sharks cap.
Oh God, if I have to buy you a Sharks cap.
Ooh, yeah, I need to find the most insulting cap for you to buy for me. I'm a very team. It's got to be the Sharks because I'm not gonna get a Giants hat. That's not.
Come on, you have some self-respect.
I'm not. No. I can't root for them. But you don't mind the A's, the Oakland A's, as much, so.
No, they have great colors.
So, yeah.
I mean the A's. I hate the A's.
Yeah,
They've
okay.
got terrible colors.
All right, we're looking at a Sharks cap here. We're looking at a Sharks cap in your future.
Well, this is definitely a winner go home thing for me.
Or if Patrick's listening, maybe I'll get a 49ers cap.
You know, you can't win the bet if you're dead.
Cool. So I'm looking forward. Demon's Souls is a game. You could talk about it for the next 6 weeks on the podcast. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because you've got a giant raging love for the Souls.
Yes,
game.
a giant raging love. I see what you did there. Yeah, no, it's great. We'll have a Demon's Souls check-in. See where you've gotten.
Yeah, the Demon's Souls update. So what have you been playing? You were traveling. So did you bring a Vita?
Yeah, I did. So yeah, I might have been beaching for like 5 hours a day and going out to eat and relaxing in paradise, but that does not stop gaming. So I brought my Vita and You're
a huge nerd.
Yeah, I know, right? I
mean that in the best way possible.
I started and beat 2 Vita games. So the first game I played and I mostly beat on the flight to Hawaii. I played Titan Souls. This is a game I've been looking forward to playing for a long time. It kind of got highlighted in the Spring Fever sale on the PlayStation. I bought it basically on the Friday before I left because I knew I'd been wanting to play it for a while. I just hadn't really gotten around to playing it. Picked it up, got on the Vita, played it. It's really fun. It's a really fun game. I'm still kind of coalescing my thoughts on it. But in Titan Souls, you play as a character who I guess enters much like, again, this is a game that's heavily inspired by Shadow of the Colossus. You play as a small hero who enters some sort of land, some sort of forbidden land, and your task is to slay titans in search for this ultimate Titan soul. You're equipped with a dodge roll and 1 arrow. You have a bow with 1 arrow, and you can basically you have your standard motion controls, and you have 2 buttons. 1 button dodge rolls, and 1 button can hold back and shoot your arrow. And depending on how long you hold that is how far you shoot the arrow. And then, because you have 1 arrow, the button, once your arrow is out, if you hold it, recalls your arrow back to you through mystical power. And that's something to do with the plot. There's some sort of, you're not the only person who's come to slay these titans, something about this cursed arrow, bow and arrow, and the power of the titan. It's very obscure, but whatever, this is a pixel art game. You go. And so the whole game is just boss fights. There are 18 titans, I believe, that you can slay. Some of them are optional. You only have to do a certain number of them to progress to the final boss. I have beaten all the titans just for my gamer cred here. And the game is brutally difficult, so everything is a one-hit kill. If a titan hits you, you die. However, each titan has a weak point that if you hit that with your arrow, you will kill them in 1 hit. And so it's a balancing act. You need to. It's almost like a puzzle game, like a puzzle-y arcadey kind of game, because you need to enter a boss area, a Titan area, and kind of figure out their movement pattern, where their weakness is, and what tactic you can do to exploit that. So in the 4 tutorial bosses, or a couple of tutorial bosses, there's one that's this giant slime with a heart buried in it, and so each time you shoot the slime, like all video game slimes, it splits in half and starts bouncing around. And you got to keep shooting it with your arrow to bounce it in half, and the smaller the slime pellets go, the more aggressively they'll follow you around the arena. Until the point where you basically can expose the heart from the slime and then shoot the heart, and then that dies. Another one is this giant rolling cube with an eye that shoots a giant laser beam. And so it'll roll around as a cube, and you can kind of see where its eye is going to be, and you have to shoot the eye before it shoots its laser beam, or even during it shooting the laser beam. But obviously, if you're standing in the path to shoot your arrow at it, chances are you're in the path that its laser is going to hit. And so you have to time that. And so one of the ways you do that is you have to see, well, if it rolls a certain number of squares, you got to keep in mind where the eye is on the cube, because you want to make sure it's exposed to the direction that you're facing. The more you play it, the more you realize it moves 4 spaces and then fires its laser, and then figuring out ways to then, all right, so if it moves 4 spaces, I should go over 3 and down 1, so I know that its eye will be facing towards me, but I can stand 1 lane over and shoot at the eye. So there's a lot of puzzle solving like that. The game can be very frustratingly hard. Justine actually got a little mad at me because I was getting kind of angry on the plane because there are a couple Titans. These aren't really spoilers, but there's a Yeti Titan and a Titan Slayer Titan that gave me a hell of a time on the airplane. I was so mad because you die a lot. And one of my main criticisms, I'm not sure if this is true for the PS4 version, but on the Vita version at least, the load times are a little bit long for a game where you're dying constantly. And then there's no, unlike Shadow Colossus, there's no retry option. You basically spawn back at a kind of local, it's a semi-open world, so
Ooh, that's a little frustrating.
So you'll spawn back at like basically a hub point, and then you have to walk back to where that Titan was. And so that can be frustrating. They're usually not too far from that respawn point, but yeah. So the game is, I enjoyed it. I beat it. It's fun. There's a lot to do there. It's the kind of game that I like. I'm looking forward to reviewing it on the blog eventually.
That's good.
There's definitely some things that I disliked about it, but I'm so glad that I got to play it and beat it and trophy hunted. And then I can talk about this more next time because we're already running a little bit long. But I played Limbo, which is a game that I've been meaning to play for a long time. That was like the indie darling, like following Braid, I think back in, I don't know, maybe it was 2009, 2010, I don't know, it was a while ago. Great. It's ominous, imposing platformer. It's a game that likes to kill you a lot, too. I played a lot of games that like to kill you a lot.
I think you got a problem there, buddy.
Yeah, right. But it's fun. It's a very simple puzzle platformer. None of the puzzles are too hard. It's a lot about atmosphere, a lot about the world it builds, a lot about this kind of bleak, dark feeling. I enjoyed it. Maybe I'll review it, maybe I won't. It's great. I think it kind of deserved the praise that it got. It's very cool. But it has that weird thing that those kind of old indie platformer games back from the day has, like the really kind of heavy, slow physics where your character kind of moves around a little like limp. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but those are two games. I beat that too. So I beat Titan Souls. I beat Limbo. Had a great time on my Vita.
You know what I beat when I go to the beach?
What?
A cooler of Corona.
I don't think I imbibed this trip at all. So
look at you, man, getting healthy, making good life choices.
Yeah, that's well. I don't know if there's a ramen place we really liked there, and I had two. Well, we went to the ramen place twice, so I don't know how healthy I'm being, but that ramen is good. I'm telling you, man. If you ever go there, I'll let you know. That place is legit. I think you'd like it too, though. I don't know, because your perspective on ramen might be different from someone who's been in Japan now for like 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've eaten a lot of ramen.
Chasu is really good. I learned that this trip.
That is delicious.
It's really good. It's pork, but it's very fatty, so it absorbs all the broth flavor. So good.
Yeah, and that's pronounced chashu.
Chashu. Whatever. Okay. Get Japanese cast going here. So let's get into a little bit of errata. This is the last section of the show, in our last little bit of time, where we just talk about everything else. Movies, TV, life, etc. Fliss, speaking of movies, you saw some 2 big ones since we last recorded.
Witness me! Witness me! Witness me seeing Mad Max! Oh, man. Fury Road was so good. So good. I saw that earlier this week, and then just today, I saw Avengers Age of Ultron. And I really wish I could have seen those in the opposite order.
Told you. I said it here on the podcast. I don't envy that order that you're seeing those in.
Yeah, you said it, man, and you were right. Avengers Age of Ultron was passable.
It was okay.
It was enjoyable.
Maybe.
I think.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I don't think I liked it. I think I enjoyed it. Maybe a little bit.
It's a movie for sure.
I think that if we discount the Hulk movies, I think that this may be the second worst Marvel Universe movie for me.
Wow, that's too bold a claim. Come on. Both Thor movies, Iron Man 2 and 3, come on.
So I liked Thor 1. I know you hate on it, but I liked it.
It's so
Thor
bad.
1 was fun.
It's so bad.
Thor 2, however, was total trash.
It doesn't make any
total
sense.
Trash.
It's like nothing. It's such a pointless, stupid movie.
So Thor 2 is definitely the worst of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies for me.
Iron Man 2 is so bad.
Iron Man 2 is not good.
And Iron Man 3 is not good either.
I liked Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3, here's the thing, right? Iron Man 3 was at least entertaining. Like, Iron Man 2 was not good, and it was kind of boring. But Iron Man 3 was, like, not good, but also really fun.
Okay, I guess I could see that. Yeah, but let's talk about stuff we like here. Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, Mad Max Fury Road was great. I mean, everything about that movie was great. And I think it exposed a lot of the flaws in a lot of modern action movies. And I think that Avengers made a lot of the mistakes that Fury Road kind of showed you how you don't make those. Avengers had too much dialogue that didn't make sense, whereas Fury Road had very, very sparse dialogue, every word of which was absolutely necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And Avengers had 2 female characters, one of whom had like maybe 5 words of dialogue, and the other of whom was like literally made into a damsel in distress locked in a castle.
Yep.
Whereas Fury Road had so many female characters, I won't even attempt to count them all, and they were awesome. And I think Furiosa gets special mention for being just
Furiosa,
insanely badass.
She's so cool.
Just amazingly cool. I mean, that moment where she puts the rifle on Max's shoulder, and she's just like, "Don't breathe."
Oh yeah, that's so cool.
So cool.
Oh man. And then Mad Max Fury Road uses a lot of practical effects as CG to enhance them. And Avengers is all CG all the time. Mad Max has comprehensible action scenes where you can follow the action and know what's going on and feel a sense of tension.
As opposed to the fight between Hulk and Iron Man, the Hulkbuster armor, really great in the one shot that they showed us the preview, just a blur of red and gold after that, and like debris. Like, what was the point of making this really cool digitally animated thing if we were never going to get to see it? It was stupid. Fury Road, yeah, physical props. I'm all about it. They built more than 130 cars.
Those cars are so cool, too. Oh, man.
Oh, I know. Just amazing. And then the real explosions, awesome. The makeup, the design, just they really, I think they did so much better a job of building a world.
Just the aesthetic, the world, and then not even getting into film stuff yet, but the cinematography is so much better.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, the cinematography is amazing. It's every shot. It's interesting to look at.
Yeah, and beautiful in that kind of weird, post-apocalyptic world, and it's still beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh
man,
awesome.
I'm so glad you liked it, because I've been telling a lot of people how good it is, and then I'm afraid that I'm overselling it. But I'm glad I didn't oversell it for you, and your hype was like too high that you couldn't enjoy it anymore.
Here's the thing. I walked into Fury Road being like, man, all my friends say this is great. I'm so hyped for this movie. I have to try and manage my expectations so that I don't end up disappointed. And then, like, within the first 10 minutes, I was just like, no, this movie is amazing. This is great. I'm blown away. And it didn't stop. I mean,
keeps going from there. Man, the guy, once he gets blinded in his, mobile tank, in that swampy kind of area.
Everything about it. And there's just,
God.
If you're a film student and you haven't seen Mad Max Fury Road, you gotta go see it, because it does so much right in using film as a visual medium. I'm all about this. I'm always harping on this with movies, is that film needs to show us things instead of telling us things. And Avengers, Joss Whedon, loves to use dialogue to tell us things, whereas Mad Max, like, it just showed us everything.
Mm-hmm.
It did it all visually. And, I want to give lots of credit to the actors, especially the leads, for all the main characters in Fury Road, because they did so much with facial expressions and body language.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It was great. Oh, yeah.
And I've been running around yelling, "Witness me," ever since, and looking my friends in the eye and saying, "You will ride forever, shiny and chrome."
Chromey. Yeah. Oh, gosh. That's a movie that, after the second we walked out of the theater, Justine and I are like, maybe we should try to go see that again in theaters. We haven't ended up doing that so far, but so good.
I fully intend to go see it again in theaters. No question. So good. Avengers, not a movie that I ever probably need to see again.
I don't need to see it again. I saw it once.
One highlight in Avengers for me, Paul Bettany's Vision.
He was the character.
I really like that actor. mainly I'm just like, oh, Chaucer from A Knight's Tale. Your vision now. That's great.
He had a gem in his head and like a weird metally kind of cape. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually, you want to talk about harassing people? I made my parents go see Fury Road.
Nice.
I yelled at them to like go see it, and they both went and they liked it. And they liked it better than Avengers, which shows that my parents have better taste in movies than yours.
yes. Because I also harassed my parents to see it, and then my mom maintains that Avengers is still a better movie. So
I'm winning this just like I'm going to win that cap.
Yeah, no, you're not winning that cap.
Oh, it's odd, but no. But yeah, I think my mom said something really pertinent here, which is just that after seeing Fury Road, Avengers is just like a cartoon.
Yeah, but I mean, I could see if they were going for it to be like a cartoon. And maybe they were. Maybe I missed the point, but...
No, man. This had everything that was like, no, we're being gritty, like, we're destroying buildings, and civilians are getting killed, and Joss Whedon is killing one main character because that's what Joss Whedon does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, no, I don't think it was trying to be a cartoon. I think it was just kind of embarrassing.
Well,
but Fury Road was great.
Yeah,
Fury Road was amazing.
Great. And you have Jurassic World to look forward to. It's good. It's very. I enjoyed it. I mean, again, it's not a Fury Road. Don't think it's Fury Road, but it's by far not by far, but it is the second best Jurassic Park movie.
Oh man, that is high praise. And
not really high praise. I mean, Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 are not very good. But...
Jurassic Park 3 would have been better if like 2 or 3 more characters had gotten killed.
Or if there wasn't like a kid, or if the whole plot wasn't dumb, or if everything in between dinosaur sections had been cut. I think that if Jurassic Park 3 had no humans in it, except for ones that just showed up to die, I think it would have been better.
I mean, just anytime you're going to put a kid like that in a movie, just reconsider.
He really lives for like 8 weeks on an island by himself.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
I'm not buying it.
But he got T-Rex pee, man.
Yeah, he did get T-Rex pee. That's the secret to success. All right.
How did you get it? You don't want to know.
You don't want to know. Oh, God. Man, if we're going to be quoting Jurassic Park movie, this is going to be a very long podcast. All right, folks. Hold on to your butts. Fliss is going to take us out.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for hanging out with us. This has been a kind of extra long episode. We had a lot to talk about. There's a lot of fun stuff going on for both of us, both in our games, our errata, and the stuff that's coming out. But keep in touch. Tell us what you thought. Tell us that you liked Fury Road better than Avengers and that you have good taste in movies. And tell us what you thought about the new games that are coming out, because we're really excited about that. You can find me on Twitter at the CFliss. That's at THECFLISS. Also, check out my blog, Fliss of the North Star, for my thoughts on pop culture, Japan, and more. I'm on a Monday update schedule right now, and that's not just because I've been challenged to finish Demon Souls, but check it out and let me know what you think. I'm looking forward to talking to you online.
And again, he wrote about he teased it last time, but he wrote about how competitive gaming should be more like the WWE than traditional sports. So check that out.
Yeah, and that is flissofthenorthstar.blogspot.com. And
so thank you, everyone, for spending some extra long time with us. Maybe we'll trim down, maybe we won't. Who knows? We'll take a little bit out in editing. So if you're hearing this now, chances are you found it on our SoundCloud. That's soundcloud.com/theimpactfactor. Please look us up on the iTunes Store and subscribe there to get direct downloads each week. And again, on the SoundCloud, you can direct download the MP3 files as well. But please, if you can, leave us a rating or write us a review there. It'd really help us a lot, help us get discovered. Maybe we get a couple other people listening to the podcast. Here's to hoping. So for an archive of our old episodes, you can look at our iTunes, or you can check us out on YouTube by searching the Impact Factor video games. We have all the old episodes there. We have my E3 special coverage there, as well as some Spelunky Let's Plays that I did before the break. And maybe if Fliss gets a PS4 like he talks about, potentially we'll get some TIF plays from Fliss's perspective as well.
I'm saving up, man. I would love to be able to do some Let's Plays for us.
So the Impact Factor podcast is an extension of my blog about video games, theimpactfactor.blogspot.com. Check there every Tuesday for a new review or article. This past week I wrote about how I enjoy playing shared story experience games as a single controller co-op with Justine. Check that out. And every Friday for my curation of the best written pieces from around the world in gaming. So send comments and suggestions for the podcast at impactfactorpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at Alex Samocha. That's Alex S-A Mocha, like the coffee. And until next time, witness me! And make an impact.